I was a little stunned. I didn't know you picked cotton. I give you props for coming up out of that because I was never around that. So I'll give you nothing but credit for coming up out of that.
So what do you imagine that life was like? What do you think was going on back then?
I don't see anything good coming out of it. I see you forcing people, families, kids, women to do something that they didn't want to do, all for the betterment of someone else, and it basically helped build this country. Like, that's a fact. Like,
where do you get that impression from?
History. This is all historical. This is all stuff you can look up.
Why? So you think?
So wait, let me ask you something. Who did you pick cotton for? Did you pick cotton for yourself?
No.
Who'd you pick it for?
For the people that owned the plantation.
On the plantation, right?
So
did you get a portion? Did you get a portion of the proceeds?
We got paid and everything. Yeah.
No, I'm saying, did you get paid a fair amount for the cotton that you picked and helped building in the industrial complex of all that? Did you get paid?
No, I did not. I did not.
Didn't. So
no.
you picked cotton for somebody else.
Right.
Okay. All right.
They were the boss. I was the employee.
Right. Employee?
Yeah. Just like...
We brought a lot of employees over from Africa, yo.
Just like the people who work for me now don't get a portion of the company's money. They get paid for performing a job, but they don't get the portion of the money.
But they can also leave when they want to leave.
And we can leave when we want to leave. And
no, you couldn't.
Yes, we could.
No,
look,
no. Do not tell me now the slaves could leave whenever they wanted to leave.
I have with me in studio Ty Barnett.
How are you?
All is well. And Ty's back. I interviewed Ty on my TV show, The Fallen State.tv, and you should check it out. Very interesting. He is a comedian, actor, and writer. He appeared on Comedy Central, The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, and has opened for Donna Summers.
Yeah, a couple
for
things.
Some hard stuff, loving tonight.
All right, there you go. You still got some soul in you. That's what's up.
Welcome back, man.
Thank you, bro.
I'm glad you're here. So I was just telling you, you see the cotton sack in my studio here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you asked did I pick cotton, and I told you yes. I was born on a plantation in Alabama, right outside of Montgomery, under the Jim Crow laws. I grew up under those laws, right. And you were stunned.
I was, because if I went by our last interview, it sounded like you did not have any exposure to any negativity of being a black person. That's what it sounded like to me with the defending of everything that's going on in this country. Like, there was not one thing you said that white people, racist white, let me be very clear, racist white people have ever done. And that's what it sounded like before. So to see this and to see the sign, I was a little stunned. I didn't know you picked cotton. I give you props for coming up out of that because I was never around that. So I'll give you nothing but credit for coming up out of that.
And twice a year the boys would be taken out of school to plant the crop and then to harvest, to bring it in.
Right.
And so what do you imagine that life was like? What do you think was going on back then?
I don't see anything good coming out of it. I see you forcing people, families, kids, women to do something that they didn't want to do, all for the betterment of someone else, and it basically helped build this country. Like, that's a fact. Like,
where do you get that impression from?
History. This is all historical. This is all stuff you can look up.
Why? So you think?
So wait, let me ask you something. Who did you pick cotton for? Did you pick cotton for yourself?
No.
Who'd you pick it for?
For the people that owned the plantation.
On the plantation, right?
So
did you get a portion? Did you get a portion of the proceeds?
We got paid and everything. Yeah.
No, I'm saying, did you get paid a fair amount for the cotton that you picked and helped building in the industrial complex of all that? Did you get paid?
No, I did not. I did not.
You didn't. So you picked cotton for somebody else.
Right.
Okay. All right.
They were the boss. I was the employee.
Right. Employee?
Yeah. Just like...
We brought a lot of employees over from Africa, yo.
Just like the people who work for me now don't get a portion of the company's money. They get paid for performing a job, but they don't get the portion of the money.
But they can also leave when they want to leave.
And we can leave when we want to leave. And
no, you couldn't.
Yes, we could.
No,
look,
do not tell me now the slaves could leave whenever they wanted to leave.
Why do you think that?
You talking about between the lynchings, getting their feet cut off, between the rapes, the beatings, the slave hunters, all that?
Why do you think that during the time that I was growing up, under the Jim Crow laws, because there was no slavery at that time, why do you think blacks couldn't leave the plantation when they wanted to?
Because they weren't able. You tell me a slave person. Tell me a slave who said, "Okay, you know what? I'm out of here. I don't feel like being a slave anymore. I'm out."
So when
No, but I'm saying, do they exist? Does any slave exist that said, you know what, like Harriet Tubman? Let's just say Harriet Tubman for an example, right? So Harriet Tubman basically was like, all right, you guys, let's not use the Underground Railroad. Let's just walk out and go down the freeway, and we're good.
But when I was growing up, there was no slavery. Slavery was over with.
There's always been slavery. What are you talking about?
That's not true. And if that's true, why is it that's amazing that you think that? I didn't know you thought that.
Thought what?
So you think when I was growing up under the Jim Crow laws, there was still slavery.
You're saying you specifically had the right to leave? You specifically did.
Any black can leave.
No.
Why did every summer my uncles would leave and go to Florida and visit, or New York, or wherever they wanted to hang out for the summer?
Again, are you telling me
when my father and mother finished high school, they moved up north to Chicago?
And so, are you telling me?
Indiana.
So you're telling me that according to your personal experience and your family, your direct
everybody
connection
around me, everybody I knew.
So again, I just want a yes or no answer. You're telling me that slaves had the right to leave. That's a yes or no.
I'm telling you that
it's a yes or no. The slaves have the right to leave.
I'm telling you that maybe when slavery existed, they didn't have a right to leave. Well, no, they didn't when slavery existed.
So slaves didn't have a right to leave.
There was no slavery when I was born.
Okay, so you're saying you personally had the right to leave, and you just chose to stay.
I'm telling you, black people had the right to leave.
You can't speak for all black folks.
Yes,
you can only speak for Jesse Lee Peterson.
I can speak for all black people under that circumstance.
You cannot.
Because there was no slavery at the time.
And again, I'm going to ask you again. I'm going to ask you, and when I say slavery, I don't mean like in the sense of how it was back in the 30s and all that stuff, and when we first came here and all that stuff. I'm not talking about when you were shackled and all that stuff. I'm talking about in the sense that when I say it's always been slavery, it's always been some kind of mental stranglehold, period. But that's a whole nother conversation.
There's not been a mental stranglehold.
Right. So
what do you mean, right?
What I'm asking you is, you're saying, and again, I just want to be very clear, that slaves did not have the right to just leave. I just want to be clear on that first.
There were some slaves that could not leave when they wanted to.
And how did they distinguish the slaves that could leave and the ones that could go to Florida and Chicago and visit their family?
Because when they were doing that, there was no slavery.
Okay, so you're saying during your personal time of picking cotton.
Slavery.
So when did you stop? When was the last piece of cotton you picked?
I have a better one for you than that.
When was the last piece of cotton you picked?
What
year was that?
About 68.
85?
68, I graduated from high school.
68?
67, probably around 65 or so.
Okay, so you stopped picking in 65.
I would say, give or take.
Now, but it's fair to say the people before you, right, and that pick cotton before you, the generations before you, they were forced to pick cotton, and that kind of bag right there.
They were not forced to pick cotton.
They weren't.
Slaves were paid to pick cotton.
How much did they get?
I don't remember.
We got. See that? Anybody on the show? Can we do research?
According to how much the cotton weighed. Because I remember that we used to go like really early to the cotton field while the dew was still out. The cotton was still kind of moist, so we can pick some of the wet cotton, make the bag heavier. But why do you have that impression that's not even true?
What's not true?
That when I was growing up, that blacks were enslaved in the South. Where did you get? That's not true at all.
No. Let me be clear. Let me be clear, because I know you got listeners that are ready to jump on that and they'll be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you said slavery existed in '67." What I mean by that is the mentality of being a slave, the mentality of who's the worker and who's the plantation owner, the mentality of we are better and your job is to pick this cotton for a fraction of what we're going to make off of this and off of your backs. Now, again, if you tell me if you have information out there that I don't know about, please show me any slaves, any black people that were made rich or made equivalent pay. Like, let's say, I'll give you an example. I used to work at a hospital, right? And when I left that hospital, I was making $20 an hour. Let me be clear. No, about $18 an hour. When I left, that's what I was making at the hospital, right?
Yeah.
So,
Where
I don't make
this in California?
No, Seattle.
Seattle, okay.
So I didn't make the money that the doctors made. I didn't make the money that the head of the hospital, the owner of the hospital made. No, but I made enough money to feed myself, my family, and live a comfortable life. Are you telling me that same thing happened for you and other black people? That you made enough money to live and support your family off of picking cotton?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely yes.
All right.
Most blacks today, as I mentioned, unlike the days when I was growing up, are mentally ill. They're mentally retarded. And let me show you how.
I just want to be clear. You said most black folks. You said most.
Right.
Not
all,
some.
not all.
Not some.
Right,
you said most black folks are mentally ill or retarded.
Yes.
Okay.
May I tell you why? When I was growing up, for the most part, black Americans got married rather than having their children out of wedlock.
So you're mentally retarded for having a kid out of wedlock.
Today, most black children are born out of wedlock. Is that mentally retarded or not?
Okay, so let me ask you something.
Let me ask you this. Common sense? No, answer that first, and then you can ask me.
No, it's not mental retardation if you have a kid out of wedlock.
How does a sound-minded person make a baby out of wedlock and leave it like that? Or even make it out of wedlock? How does
I don't know. Why don't you ask people like Trump? He had multiple baby mamas. He had kids out of wedlock.
No, he did not.
Is he mentally retarded?
Trump did not have children out of wedlock.
Right. Sure he didn't.
Which one of his children were born out of wedlock?
Which one of his three were from different moms?
But they're not born out of wedlock.
Right.
You said
here's my point.
No,
wait. No, because you just glanced over something. No, you just said something that's not true. You just made two statements that wasn't true. You just said that having a kid out of hold on. You said having a kid out of wedlock makes you mentally retarded.
It's retarded to do that.
Now, is it only mentally retarded if black folks do it?
Anyone does it.
Okay, so now let's come back to because you glanced over that. Hold on, because you glanced over it. You glanced over it. Do you understand that white people, Hispanic people, Asian people, they all have had kids and they do continue to have kids out of wedlock? Are they all mentally retarded?
Yes.
Okay, so at least you're across the board, because at first you just said that it's all black folks.
I didn't say all.
No, most. Now, again, if you're saying most black folks are mentally retarded, then you got to lump everybody else in there. So you can't just, if it's everybody you're including of that most, then you have to include white people. So if you're going that route, then there's no reason for you to come back and say that it's just black folks, because everybody apparently is retarded if they have kids out of wedlock, which statistics show. You can go look. Somebody from your thing can pull up the stats of people who have kids out of wedlock. I know a handful of white folks myself that have had kids out of wedlock. I know Asian people that have had kids out of wedlock. Hispanic people that had kids out of wedlock.
And the reason you pointed out white people is what?
No, you pointed out black people, so I wanted to point out to you that you can't just say black people do this.
Why you pointed out white people when I pointed out what's wrong with blacks? Why do you say white people do it too?
No, because you said that you said most black folks. You said most black folks.
Right.
You said most black folks have their problem goes back to the mental issue of having kids out of wedlock, so it makes them mentally retarded. So what my point is, if that's the case and that's what affects black folks because they have kids out of wedlock, that's what makes them mentally retarded according to you, then tell me the excuse for the white people or the Asian people or the Hispanic people that the same thing that have kids out of wedlock.
Am I right about most black babies?
No, you didn't answer the question.
Because you're trying to justify.
No, you didn't answer the question.
Behavior.
You have to answer the question. You made the statement.
I said anyone that does it is mentally retarded.
Okay, so again, you're telling me, so if that's the case, then the whole scope of people that have kids out of wedlock is mentally retarded. If that's the case, then you have to disqualify that from your list of things that make black people the problem.
Let me ask, is 70% of black babies born out of wedlock? Is that most?
I don't know about 70%. I don't know that stat.
According to the CDC, 70% of black baby, or the Census Bureau, it's all over the place. So you don't know that between 70 and 73% of black babies are born out of wedlock?
No,
I
don't know that.
So here are the stats. 70+% of black babies born out of wedlock. Hispanics, 50%. I remember once it was 50% for the blacks. Among whites, it's 30 to 40% born out of wedlock.
Mm-hmm.
Do liberals not understand numbers?
Uh-huh. Let me see here. I'm looking up these.
I know,
where
but
you
we
got
want
those
to
from.
keep the show going. Though. Do liberals not understand numbers?
Liberals understand numbers perfectly.
Are
But
you-
can I be clear? Just for a second, so I make sure I'm clear. I don't consider myself a liberal. I'm a realist. So just
Okay, be real about these numbers.
And I'm being real. And I'm telling you, as soon as you tell me where these stats came from, because I want to look this up as well, because I don't know your stat line. But again, if that's the case, because I can tell you right now, I was born out of wedlock. I'm fine. I raised my kids. They're fine. My brother was born out of wedlock. He's fine. His kids are fine.
What made you think you're fine?
I know I'm fine. I don't think I'm fine. I know I'm fine.
Why do you think so?
Because I have raised my kids. I'm
You have
doing
kids
pretty
out
good.
of wedlock?
Yeah.
How many do you have?
2 daughters.
Amazing. And how do you know you're fine? You're not telling me.
Because I know. What are you talking about? What do I need to tell you? You want my bank statements? You want my education stats? What do you want?
No,
What do you want?
I meant mentally and morally.
Mentally and morally, I'm fine.
Russell,
Oh my God.
out of Hampton, Virginia. You're on the air, Russell. Thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for taking my call there, Jesse.
Yes, sir.
Ty,
Yeah.
that's your guest.
Yes.
Am I correct that you said that you had children out of wedlock?
Yes.
Okay. And do you disagree with the things that Jesse said about people that have children out of wedlock?
I disagree when he said that they're retarded. Yes.
Would it shock you to know that Jesse had a child out of wedlock?
Okay, that still doesn't change the fact that making a statement of saying having a kid out of wedlock makes you retarded.
But doesn't that kind of show his hypocrisy that he has those strong values and those strong opinions?
Oh, of course. But that's what I'm trying to tell you, dude.
When I had the kid out of wedlock, I didn't have those values.
No,
I was retarded.
but do you see my point, though?
I was retarded.
Do you see my point? Do you see my
Okay,
point?
but-
The hypocrisy, the
I had
hypocrisy
the
right there.
anger.
He just pointed it out just now.
I had the anger. I was retarded. I would never do that again.
Are your kids retarded?
No, my son didn't have a kid out of wedlock. He got married. Thank you.
Okay, but was he
Because
retarded?
I overcame that, and so I taught him different values.
Hey, thanks for pointing that out, bro.
Yeah, that's real good, Russell. Thank you, buddy. My first son was born out of wedlock when I was 19.
Thanks for that call, by the way, brother.
And I was going to say that. That's how I know that it's retarded to have children out of wedlock. Because when my son was born out of wedlock, I knew that he was going to suffer because he would not be able to be with his father, right? And his mother. And so I got a lawyer. I tried to get him, and it didn't work out because she fought against it. She was angry, and she fought against it. As a result, my son became angry, right? But he and I worked it out now because he has forgiven me. But because my values changed, that meant that my morals might change. So my mentality and everything else changed. And I knew not to make another baby out of wedlock, and I encouraged him to do the same thing. So he got married.
I have nothing against marriage. Get married if you want to get married and have a kid. That's fine.
Right.
If you want to do it the traditional way, great. I'm all for that.
That's the right way to go.
No, it's a traditional way. When
Are
you
you
say
a
the right way,
Christian?
you can't say the right way.
Are you a Christian?
I wouldn't call myself a Christian, no.
Do you believe in God?
I do believe in God. I believe that there is a higher power. That's what I
Is
believe.
that God?
If you want to call him God, Buddha, whatever
Do
you want to call
him God or you call him Buddha?
I call him God. But again, there's so many different
No,
definitions
there's not but
of God.
one God.
Right. And
One.
how do we know
And
who that
it's-
God
and
is?
it ain't Buddha.
How do we know who that God is?
It ain't
How do we
Buddha.
know that?
I know that for sure.
How do we know what
But
that
let me
God
ask
is?
you this fast. So you're not a Christian, right?
No, I wouldn't. I don't. If you,
And
I don't
what are
understand
you?
how you would. What would
What
qualify
are
me as
you?
being a Christian?
What are you if you're not a Christian?
I'm a spiritual person.
What does that mean?
That means that I believe that there's a higher power that is out there that helps us all, and I can't define whether it's God, Allah, Buddha.
So you don't.
dope.
You believe in a God that you're not sure which one it is.
Because no one knows what it is.
Yeah, and we know what it's not. It's not Buddha.
No, we don't know that. We don't know any of that.
No.
None of us know
We
any
know
of that.
for sure not
None of us
Buddha.
know any of that.
You know it's not
None of
Buddha.
us know any
Do you
of that.
think it's Louis Farrakhan?
None of us know any of this. No, it's not Louis Farrakhan. None of us know any
And
of
it's
that.
not Allah Akbar either.
Okay.
Man,
Are we
thank
done
you
with
for
the
coming.
calls?
Thank you for coming back.
Thanks.
Will you come back?
You know what, man? I had more fun this time than I did last
I
time.
know, you had a
Last
fit
time, I
last time.
honestly was like, I didn't know.
You carried on last time. You carried. Have you seen it on TV?
I did. I watched it.
Were you ashamed?
No, why?
Thank you, folks. Bye.